Since our last face-to-face conversation, my life is just getting incrementally and quickly better. I got a promotion at work effortlessly. I'm making $20,000 more a year, and I'm doing less work to do it. And so the wave that I'm riding, that I've heard Abraham talk about, is less work, more fun, more money. And it feels great. So thank you.
We want to qualify that just a little bit because it depends on what you mean by work. But we would say certainly less resistance, more fun, more money.
Even better. Thank you. My first question is, what are the common desires and vibrations of those of us who are attracted to Abraham? And the reason I ask that is because I don't ever consciously remember asking for Abraham or asking to be drawn to Esther and Jerry or anything else like that.
Oh, we can give that to you easily. You have a powerful, visceral, cellular memory of feeling good, and you want it. And you want to help other people get it too. You're teachers to the core of your being. You want to feel good, and you want to drop breadcrumbs that help other people remember too. There are exceptions, because some people come because they're just wanting to improve their life in lots of different ways. But in answer to your powerful question, that is our precise answer. You want to be uplifted, and you want to teach upliftment because you intuitively know that it is supposed to feel good.
Thank you. My next question is about the price of gas in the United States. It's at its highest point historically, and I'm wondering what those of us who are conscious, deliberate creators and are on the leading edge can do to find the positive aspects in that, to feel good about that, to begin to change the vibration around that.
Here's what we would like. We would like it to cost 10 times what it does and you not care. Because as long as you care what something costs, you've got a limitation set on how much money you think will come into you. So you go to the pump and the cost of gas is high. All that does is cause you to launch a rocket that says, I'd like more money to pay for this higher price of gas. And Source says, all righty then. And then all you've got to do is bring yourself into alignment with that, you see.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Our favorite story about that was a woman who was talking about her now husband, who was a former husband to someone else to whom he was paying alimony. And his former wife kept taking him back to court and demanding more money. And they wanted to know what they could do, how they could shut her down. She was taking too much of the money that they wanted to spend on their now life that they were living together. And we said, we wish your now husband had 10 ex-wives. And we wish that they were all going to court and asking for more money. Because the most they're going to get is 50%, usually. And so if he's got that many people calling that much money through him, his income is increasing dramatically if he'll let it, and they're only getting half. Anything that causes you to want more, when you come into alignment with it, it's a done deal. So the price of anything doesn't matter, because if you want it, Source is arranging a way right now for you to have it. You've just got to stop complaining about the price of gas. So here's how it happens. You go to the gas pump. This is exactly how it happens. Jerry and Esther filled up the other day, and it was $725. And they were going to drive that gas out that day. So as you go to the gas pump and you fill up, and you feel that discord of the price of this fuel, in that moment, you launch a rocket of desire that says, more money for fuel. And Source Energy says, done, done. Then you say, this costs too much. So the money's sitting there, but you don't have access to it. You say, it's terrible what they're doing. You don't have access to it. You say, it's highway robbery. You don't have access to it. You say, the Bush administration and their oil cronies are doing this deliberately just to put more money in their pocket. You don't have access to it. You really don't have access to it. You say, it's nice that this gas is available to me. You start moving in the direction of the improvement in your money for gas. You say, what I need always comes to me. You start moving toward it. You say, I have enough flexibility in my budget that I can, for now, put a little more of it here. You start moving toward it. You say, I've never paid too much attention to what many things cost, and I'm not going to make this be an exception. You start moving toward it. You say, what I need always flows. You start moving toward it. And with enough deliberate training, you move yourself into alignment with this big big pile of money that's waiting for you in vibrational escrow for gas or for anything that you've launched it over there for. And then you come and you say, I'm making $20,000 more than I was last time I talked to you. And we say, good, spend some of it on gas.
Thank you.
Whatever you want is there for you. Whatever you want. So Esther has no concern about dollars and gas. Sometimes she goes in to pay and comes back and Jerry says, how much was it? And Esther said, I don't know, I didn't notice. She signed the ticket because it doesn't matter. Whatever it cost is what it cost, and she was going to get it anyway, so what possible difference does it matter? So her answer is usually, well, it cost what it cost, and it's there on the ticket if you want to see it. In other words, it's irrelevant what it cost what it cost. And then they were at a gas station in San Diego last week, and they filled up their tank on their Yukon, or they wanted to, but the pump caught them off at $50 and only gave them half a tank. And Esther said, well, we could either go again or we could just leave it at that. And Jerry said, let's just leave it at that. We can fill up again later. And when Esther went in to get her receipt, she heard the woman who had come in behind her say, I would like $2 worth on pump 3, please. And Esther felt that pang, because Esther saw that $50 did not give her a half a tank. And she figures that $2 won't even show on that woman's meter. And so Esther started moving in the wrong direction on this subject of gas, not on her behalf, but on somebody else's. Esther's not worried about gas prices for herself, but she could listen to enough people that she begins worrying about them, and then she's not contributing to the improvement either, you see. And so we want you to understand, because we can feel it rippling even in this room, that sometimes people feel as they listen to us, well, Abraham, you're just teaching people to be selfish and to not care or worry about what's happening to anyone else. And we say, we want you to care, but we don't want you to worry. When you care, you launch into vibrational escrow on their behalf. When you worry, you do not help them get to what you've launched over there on their behalf. So it's possible. This ties in with your question about who am I and why am I here and who are the people that are gathering here in this Abraham energy. And we say, you care about other people and you will launch rockets of desires on their behalf, but you can't suffer for them and be catalyst to help them receive improved conditions. In other words, you've got to follow the dream of the improved life for them. Yeah. As uplifters, you've got to learn to walk your way up the emotional scale on behalf of those that you care about, because you can't see them as victims and do them any good. And when you see anybody as a victim, you shoot yourself in the foot. It's really interesting how powerful you are and how you're all tied in with one another. The thoughts that you think about other people not only affect you, but they affect the part of their life experience that rendezvous with you.
My next question is about food. In previous seminars and in previous places, different people have different beliefs about what serves them best, whether a variety of diets. I'd like to just tell you briefly my diet.
We are not interested at all.
Because?
Because what we think about your diet is irrelevant.
What I'd like to know is if you would offer any suggestions to modify it.
Not at all.
Not at all?
And here's why.
Okay.
We are a bit flippant, but we have a very important point.
Gotcha.
So you live your life and you launch your rockets relative to how you want to feel in your body. And the beliefs that you hold indicate your alignment or resistance. So let's say you want to be a thriver and you believe that this particular diet will cause you to thrive. That belief puts you in a place of no vibrational discord, and what you're eating will serve you exactly right. But then you go to some seminar and somebody says, oh, I see trouble in your diet. And as they activate within you an awareness that you're not eating as good as you thought you were, the vibrational discord between what you want and where you are widens. And now the food that you were eating that was serving you doesn't serve you, not because of what you're eating, but because of your vibrational countenance. We're surprised any of you can find anything to eat, because somebody out there has made a big expose of what's wrong with everything that you might put in your mouth. So we see you sitting in front of your menus or standing in the grocery store with a sort of horrified vibration going on. Your food frightens you. You apologize as you order. You feel guilty as you eat, you see. You got to get to a place where you know that well-being is there, that you're doing your best to choose. And so what you want to do as you look at that Twinkie that somebody is condemned from just about every direction, and you want to say, this Twinkie has in it these favorable components. It has the component of pleasure as it passes across my palate. It has the component of energy. It has the component of oil and lubrication. It has the component of some vitamins that they have stuffed into the whipped cream filling. In other words, if you can bring yourself into emotional alignment with what you eat, it will serve you every time. Which means we don't want you to eat somebody else's diet.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you can't continually adjust your diet. But we would make peace with every bit of every morsel that we put into our mouth before we put it in our mouth. And here it is. If you make peace, really make peace with everything that you eat, no matter what it is, you'll thrive. Your body will be the size and shape and stamina and endurance that you want if you make peace with the food vibrationally before you ingest it. But when you ingest food that you have not made peace with, you're taking an action journey that does not match your vibrational journey. And what's happening to your body is about your emotional vibrational journey, not about the food you're eating. And you've got to know that's true, because you see people having a variety of different responses and experiences who are eating similar food.
Right.
It's not the food. It's how you feel about the food.
Thank you.
We have enjoyed this interaction. It is beyond physical description. The appreciation, you might call it love, you might call it pride, you might call it adoration. We like the word appreciation because it grows and expands and grows and expands and grows and expands. That we feel for you out here on this leading edge. You haven't been sent here as martyrs or as unevolved or as inappropriate. You haven't been sent here at all. You rockishly romped here out of your powerful zest and zeal for leading edge life and expansion. You love riding this wave. So as we see you as leading edge genius creators on this leading edge of thought, it is our desire for you to lighten up and stop taking yourself so seriously because you can't behave in enough perfect ways to cause anything that is non-physical to love you more. You're getting the whole ball of love anyway. And in your attempt to deserve more love, you're focused upon the areas of your life where you feel unlovable or unworthy, which is activating a vibration that is causing the only separation between you and your source that exists anywhere in the universe. So don't do that anymore. Don't work hard at this. Just do your best to feel good as much as you can. And don't try to think the best thought that you've ever thought right now. Just find one that feels as good as you can find from where you are. And when you feel a little relief as you find an improved feeling thought, take a moment to stop and say, I'm getting really good at this because I chose this better feeling thought on purpose and I do feel better. Because in that statement, in that acknowledgement, you become empowered. And it is the feeling that you're not empowered, which is the only thing that you've ever felt bad about, ever anyway. So each moment that you feel just a little more empowered, you allow a little closer alignment to who you really are until subject after subject after subject, you come into vibrational alignment. And then your world doesn't just get better, your world is better. The things that are yet to come are coming and you're anticipating them. You're not uncomfortable that they have not come yet. And then one day, we'll have a chat, either with you sitting in a chair here, or we'll visit with you in your own mind as we do Esther. You don't need Esther for this. And we'll say to you, are you enjoying the contrast of your time and place? And you will say, yes, and mean it. And then we'll say, And those things that you want that have not yet come to physical fruition, how are you feeling about them? And you'll say, I adore them. They call me. They summon me. They guide me. They are me.